guys, it's Melody Fletcher here. Now, last week I invited you to sign up for my free course, Spiritual Gladiator, which teaches you who you are and what you're actually here for. Here's a hint. It is not to work really hard and just do your best to survive. The week before that, I talked about what's going on in the world right now and what to expect in 2020. And in that video, I mentioned that if you're watching videos like mine, you are definitely a leader of the light, or what I call a gladiator. So today, I'd like to explain a little bit more about what that means, because you may not think of yourself or even want to think of yourself as a leader. In fact, you might be a total introvert, and the idea of being a leader, as in standing in front of a group of people and getting them to follow you, pretty much makes you want to shit your pants. Well, don't worry. That is not what I'm actually talking about when I say the word leader. I'm talking about being a leader of the light. What does that mean? So there are basically 3 types of players in this game. Now, these 3 types definitely have a lot of subgroups, but, well, we won't go into that today, okay? So the 3 types are the leaders of the light, the leaders of the dark, and the stabilizing majority between the 2. So firstly, let's talk about the leaders of the dark. When I say the dark, I'm not talking about evil. It's more of a term of polarity, like when a magnet has a positive or a negative side. You don't judge the negative side of the magnet as worse in some way than the positive side, right? That would be insane. But the dark does have certain characteristics. The dark resists change. It's a dense, heavy energy that just wants to stay put where it is. The dark is afraid of change, afraid of failure, and very afraid of losing control. Most of the leaders and world governments, as well as the biggest corporations, are still mired heavily in dark energy. The dark is willing to sacrifice a few to justify the survival of the many, even if no one's actual survival is being threatened. The dark will lie, cheat, manipulate, steal resources from the earth, and sell our children's future down the river. Basically, the dark will shit where it eats. The dark is not very smart. The only power it has is the power we give it. You see, the dark isn't actually very powerful. When you open a door from a dark room into a light hallway, the dark doesn't spill out into the light hallway. The light from the hallway spills into the dark room. The dark's only weapon is fear. If we let it tell us scary stories and we buy into those scary stories, we won't open the door to the light hallway. We won't let the light in. But in case you hadn't noticed, we as a whole are becoming less and less willing to not open that door. We're becoming less and less willing to naively buy into whatever scary story they're selling at the moment. Have you noticed how the scary stories are becoming more and more like ludicrous? Honestly, it really is kind of getting funny. Anywho, so there you have the leaders of the dark. People who are mired in dark energy and fear and do their best to actively resist change. Then you have the leaders of the light. And you can believe this or not, but you are one of those. How do I know that? Because the frequency of these communications is such that only leaders of the light can hear it. Like really high tones that only dogs or bats can hear, there are frequencies that only light leaders can perceive. So if you're here, you're one of us, like it or not. Leaders of the light have characteristics too. We're the ones who actively work to change things for the better. We don't understand why anyone wouldn't do that. We see the possibilities and the solutions, and we cannot shut up about it. Most of us have tried, but that just didn't work, did it? Leaders of the light, or gladiators as I like to call us, have always been the ones pushing things forward. We're the ones who got on the boats and sailed into the unknown. We couldn't help it. Sitting at home and staying stagnant felt too painful. While others were terrified of falling off the edge of the earth, we figured that even if we did, it would be better than staying at home and dying of boredom or mediocrity. Gladiators bring progress. We push humanity forward, and we do that by bringing the light. not by doing anything, not necessarily by standing in front of a bunch of people and shouting inspiration at them. We bring the light by being the light. We are conduits of light, and when we shine, we illuminate the dark. Now, that can cause some not so great reactions, and I'll talk to you about that next week. But essentially, we're here to embody the light, to bring love and compassion to everything. Now, I get that makes it sound like a bunch of wussy hippies who bring flowers to a gunfight, but that's actually not true. That's a limiting belief. That compassion and love make you weak and vulnerable. Another lie told to us by the dark. Because when you tap into the power of who you truly are, real power, not fake power erected so no one will see that you're actually a quivering, weak, insecure mess underneath, not chest pounding or dick measuring contests. When you tap into the real power, you become unstoppable. One of the best definitions I've ever heard of real power is this: having the ability to crush your opposition and choosing not to. Choosing compassion because you can, not because you have to. It's not weakness. It's benevolence. It's not running away from the dark, but facing it and transmuting it. That's why I call us gladiators, by the way, because light leaders are badasses, even if they don't think that they are. When you're willing to take on the suffering of others, put yourself on the back burner so they can be okay, that makes you a badass. Never mind that you really don't have to do that. It's based on another lie, but just your willingness to do that, your ability to do that, to be that strong, makes you a badass. The stabilizing majority is just that. The majority of the people on the planet have not come to be leaders, but followers. They will follow the energy that's the strongest at the moment. And they've been traditionally quite easy to lead and manipulate as a whole, not necessarily individually. But if you're paying attention, you can see that the stabilizing majority has begun to turn directions. Like a massive aircraft carrier, they're swinging in the direction of the light. Personal development is the biggest section in the bookstore now. People are less and less willing to buy into the latest fear-based story. It's much harder to get people to panic nowadays, even though God knows they are still trying. People are starting to get angry, to question things, and to fight back. They're less controllable, less manipulatable. They're not as willing to just accept the explanations offered by a small group of experts and conventional wisdom. They're searching out alternative points of view and beginning to think more for themselves. You know, all the stuff that you've been doing for ages. And that's exactly why you're being called right now. What you've been going through, this awakening process, the rest of humanity is just starting to go through now. And we need your light. Of course, if you're being the light, you benefit massively from that as well, because gladiators are supported when we're in our power. Everything just works out for us. We become more fully human as we wake up more and more, and we discover our true power. The ability to manipulate and change reality at will. That's what comes with the light. It's not an obligation or a job. It's who you are, who you came to be, and what you've always wanted. Oh, and in case you were still wondering, yes, it comes with a whole bunch of stuff. In fact, the stuff becomes so automatic and easy to achieve, you don't even really worry about it anymore. Over the next couple of weeks, I'm going to go deeper into this topic. So if you're not either on my mailing list or subscribed to my YouTube channel, make sure you sign up or subscribe so that you don't miss any of the teaching. Also, if you haven't signed up for the Spiritual Gladiator course, make sure you do that. It's a full video course that explains much more about the gladiator, who you are, and what you're here for. Oh yeah. And right now, it is totally free. You're welcome. Until next week, sending you huge smushy hugs, and thank you for bringing your light to the world. Bye.
So the big question is this: How do we, those of us who feel deep down that we're much more powerful than we've been led to believe, and that there is something to this law of attraction stuff, actually create our own realities? What's the process of simply stepping into the reality of our choice? What about those of us who need this process to make logical, intellectual sense? My name is Melody Fletcher. You've got questions about the technology of reality, and I've got the answers. Welcome to my channel, where the law of attraction finally makes some freaking sense.